The chamber's walls pulsed with blue light, echoing the silent tension that pressed down on everyone inside. A crescent table of alien dignitaries watched from their crystal thrones, each representing a world with claws, tusks, or mandibles. At the room's center, humans stood on a simple, unadorned dais, a deliberate slight. Captain Mira Reyes, uniform crisp, face carved from resolve, kept her hands steady at her sides. Every eye felt like a blade. At the apex, High Chancellor Verrick reclined with imperial calm. Silver skin gleamed under the floating lights. His voice, soft and syrupy, filled the void. "Welcome, humans. It pleases the Council that your species has chosen compliance over chaos." Mira suppressed a grimace. Compliance. They always dressed up submission in pleasant words. She caught a glimpse of her delegation, Ambassador Aang's jaw tight, young Lieutenant Osei's eyes wide, scanning every threat. Varric's long fingers flicked the control. Holograms bloomed above the table, figures and resources, energy crystals, rare metals, data cores, scrolling with cold efficiency. But then, faces appeared. Human faces, hollow-eyed, some barely adults, all missing from Earth for years. Mira's spine stiffened. "Earth's tribute for this cycle will be as follows," Verrick intoned. 1 million units of plutonium X, a dozen quantum archives, and, as before, a consignment of 2,000 laborers. The faces swirled, pausing on each for effect. "Ensure they are healthy, able-bodied. Our systems cannot function on inferior stock." A ripple of disgust ran through Mira, but her voice emerged even. "Chancellor, humanity's position is clear. We will meet resource quotas, but the consignment of our people." A thick-necked counselor from the Dradhak species interrupted, teeth clicking. "Defiance. Just as your kind always manages. The Council does not negotiate with the lawless." Verrick raised a silencing hand. "Earth's place here is tenuous. You have advanced, yes, but so have countless others who now serve without question. Do not mistake this audience for respect, it is merely process." The words landed like a slap. Mira remembered her brother, Daniel, snatched from a colony transport at 17, one among thousands who vanished. Every demand for answers met with stalling or thinly veiled threats. Ambassador Aang cleared his throat, voice formal but trembling. "The abductions must cease. We demand the return of all humans taken for tribute in previous cycles." Counselor Saraxis, whose eyes flickered like fireflies, leaned forward. "Your species breeds trouble. Chaos is your gift to the stars. The Council's discipline is mercy." Osei, young and raw, barely kept his composure. Mira signaled subtly, silence. The Council wanted a show of weakness. She wouldn't give them that. Varrick's lips curled into a facsimile of a smile. "Earth has until the next cycle's turn, 1 lunar, to comply. Refusal will be considered an act of war. Choose wisely." He pressed a control. The platform beneath the humans slowly retracted, guiding them out as though they were unwanted cargo. Mira said nothing, but her eyes met Varrick's for a single, smoldering instant. The doors closed behind them. The cold grandeur of the Council dissolved into the sterile gray of the transfer bay. Only when the guards were out of earshot did the tension shatter. 2,000 more, Aang muttered. "And next cycle, it'll be 10,000. How many must we give before they're satisfied?" "They're not after tribute," Mira replied quietly. "They're after control. They want to see us kneel." She flexed her hands, fighting the urge to strike out at nothing. Osei slumped against the wall. "We can't fight the entire Council, Captain. Our fleets." "We won't fight," Mira interrupted. "Not as they expect." Her mind spun. She pictured Daniel in chains, imagined his hope withering in a cell light years from Earth. She'd heard the rumors, whole prison worlds filled with laborers, never seen again. Aang ran a trembling hand over his face. "There's nothing in the protocols, nothing about a rescue. Our mandate. I'm not waiting for another mandate." Mira's tone was razor-sharp. "If we meet their demand, we lose ourselves." If we refuse, they claim it's war. But if we break their cycle, if we show them there's a price for every life they steal, maybe we change the rules. She glanced around. We have 6 days before the tribute is due. That's 6 days to find where our people are held, strike fast, and get them out. Osei straightened, the first spark of hope flickering in his eyes. You have a plan? Myra's lips twitched, almost a smile. I always have a plan. And I know someone who can help. Later, aboard the flagship Aegis Prime, Mira entered the war room. The crew, veterans all, eyes cold with shared loss, snapped to attention. Holomaps of alien prison systems glowed on every wall. Mira stood at the center, hands behind her back, voice carrying the weight of every missing soul. The council demanded 2,000 of our own. They expected obedience. They expect us to fear them. She looked each officer in the eye. But they don't know us. Her second-in-command, Elias Roman, leaned in. We've traced council transport ships to Raxith Prime. That's where the latest prisoners are sent. Mira nodded. Then that's where we'll go. We're not delivering tribute. We're taking back our people and leaving a message. Every prison warden who's ever chained a human will answer for it. Murmurs of grim assent rippled through the room. Roman cocked his head. You know what this means, Captain. If we fail, we become the warning for every world that ever dared defy the Council. Myra's gaze was steel. But if we succeed, Earth will never kneel again. Silence reigned, heavy and sacred. Then, one by one, her crew saluted. Mira felt the old fire burn in her chest. She would not let another Daniel disappear into darkness. Not now. Not ever. Night on Raxith Prime felt manufactured, an artificial twilight controlled by orbital mirrors. Far below the Council's watchful satellites, Mira Reyes slipped from the shadow of a rusting comms tower. Her armor, matte black, reflected nothing. At her signal, her team fanned out, disappearing into the maze of razor wire fences and industrial chimneys. The Council's prison complex sprawled for kilometers. Floodlights swept over rows of electrified gates, each crowned with turrets. Guard towers rose at intervals, filled with hulking Drathack sentries armed with disruptors. Somewhere within those walls, the lost thousands waited, faces Mira had never met but could never forget. Status check, she whispered into her comm. West perimeter secured, Roman replied, breath steady. We've taken control of 2 drones. No alarms. Osei's voice chimed in, tense but focused. Found the power relay. On your mark, I'll kill the lights. Mira pressed on, ducking behind a crate as a patrol passed. Through her visor, she marked the route to the main holding sector. Years of simulations had led to this. One mistake, and they'd all vanish into the Council's endless black. At the compound's heart, prisoners shuffled between barracks, heads bowed under the glare of spotlights. Their guards, armored, masked, indifferent, barked orders in a guttural tongue. Myra's fist clenched. She activated the comm all teams, go. Osei's countdown ticked in her ear. 3, 2, 1. Suddenly, the lights died. Sirens blared in confusion. Mira sprang forward, her team moving like shadows. Roman and his squad cut through the outer gate, silenced disruptors flashing. Drathack guards dropped before they could call for help. Mira ducked into a barracks, weapon ready. Inside, a dozen emaciated humans stared, terror and hope warring in their eyes. She tore off her helmet, letting them see her face. We're here to bring you home. Stay quiet. Move quickly. A woman stepped forward, trembling. Is this real? Mira nodded. You're not forgotten. Now move. Roman's voice crackled. Central security is onto us. Reinforcements inbound, 2 minutes. Copy. Mira hustled the prisoners toward the maintenance tunnels, Osei guiding them by torchlight. Shouts erupted above, orders, panic, boots pounding metal walkways. They reached a locked hatch. Mira slammed her wrist tablet against the interface. For a breathless second, nothing happened. Then, the door hissed open. The group plunged into darkness, footsteps echoing. Roman's squad appeared with more freed captives, some limping, one carrying a bloodied child. They tortured them, he muttered. Some won't make it without help. Myra's anger simmered, fueling her resolve. We get everyone out. No one left behind. Osei led them through winding tunnels, the air thick with damp and fear. They emerged in a storage bay stacked with crates. A lone guard spotted them, raising a weapon. Roman took him down before he could cry out. Sirens intensified. The council had realized the attack was not a riot, but an organized breach. Heavily armed patrols rushed to seal the exits. Mira scanned the bay. Roman, explosives. Bring down the wall. We're out of time. He planted charges along the outer wall. 30 seconds. A pounding echoed behind them. Osei checked the passage. They're coming. Mira faced the crowd. Get down. Cover your heads. The charges detonated, blasting a ragged hole to the surface. Cool night air swept in, carrying the chaos of alarms and distant shouts. Mira led the survivors through the breach, guiding them into the ruined yard. Spotlights whipped their way. Council reinforcements spilled from armored transports. Mira raised her rifle, firing in controlled bursts. Roman and Osei laid down covering fire, dropping attackers as the refugees scrambled for cover. Overhead, a low growl signaled hope. Dropships, piloted by human marines, roared over the horizon. The lead craft skimmed the ground, ramp dropping. Mira waved the group forward. Move! Get aboard! Panicked, exhausted, the prisoners surged into the dropships. Mira stayed at the rear, gunning down 2 more guards. Roman dragged a wounded captive up the ramp, barely dodging a disruptor blast. Inside the dropship, Mira scanned the faces. Hope flickered in their hollow eyes, disbelief slowly giving way to tears. As the hatch sealed, Roman slumped beside her. We have 63 aboard, plus another 80 from the west wing. Osei wiped sweat from his brow. Second ship's clear. But we lost Jenkins, caught in the crossfire. Mira bowed her head for a moment. Then her voice hardened. He died for something worth more than tribute. The dropship lurched skyward, dodging tracer fire. Through the porthole, Mira saw the carnage below, the burning wall, the panicked guards, the liberated prisoners pouring into waiting transports. She keyed the comms. Phase 2. Execute. Far below, hidden charges erupted, destroying the compound's command center. Alien comms went dead. For the first time, the Council's prison planet was blind and silent. Target secured, Mira confirmed. Set course for the Aegis Prime. Prepare the medical bay. Roman sat beside her, eyes haunted but proud. We actually did it. Mira exhaled. We're not finished. We send the Council a message tonight. No more tribute. No more stolen lives. The ships vanished into hyperspace, leaving chaos in their wake. In the ruined yard, a single survivor, Commander Var, the most feared warden in Council history, awoke surrounded by his fallen guards. Mira had spared him for a reason. She crouched beside him, eyes like ice. You'll deliver our message, Var. Tell the Council what happened here. He spat blood, trembling. They'll hunt you. All of you. Mira stood, voice low. Let them come. But first, look around, this is what justice looks like. She strode away, boots crunching over shattered concrete, while Var stared at the devastation. The Council's invincibility shattered in a single night. Above, the stars shone cold and clear. For the first time in years, hope traveled with the fleeing dropships, hope and a warning carried on the wind. Galactic Council Station loomed in orbit above the nebula's red swirl, a fortress ringed with sentry guns and fleets on standby. Aegis Prime, battered but proud, dropped out of hyperspace at its edge, flanked by human ships. On every bridge, Tension coiled as the Council's flagship hailed them, command codes sharp as daggers. "Earth vessel, identify your purpose," snapped the Council officer on the screen. Myra's image flickered to life, eyes cold as space. "Captain Mira Reyes, returning what was stolen, and bringing our tribute." Her tone invited no argument. A curt silence followed, broken by Varric's appearance, regal and impatient. "You dare approach without summons? This breach is actionable." "Enough," Mira cut in. "We bring survivors from Raxith Prime. And a message." Council guards escorted the delegation through corridors of alien alloy, the stares of diplomats and soldiers alike tracking every step. Survivors followed, bruised but unbroken, their presence a living accusation. At Myra's side, Roman's grip on his case was tight, Osei's every movement telegraphed vigilance. They entered the council chamber, filled with the same crystalline arrogance as before. Varric presided, ringed by counselors whose expressions ranged from amusement to fury. Mira advanced, the survivors arrayed behind her. She let silence press against the chamber walls, letting the counselors study the faces that had once stared from tribute lists, now glaring back in defiance. Varric's voice coiled with contempt. "Where's your tribute?" Roman set the black crate on the marble floor. It thudded with finality. Mira met Varric's gaze. "Inside, you'll find the heads of every warden who enslaved our people. That is the only tribute humanity will ever pay again." A ripple of shock snaked through the chamber. A counselor recoiled, mandibles clattering. Another hissed in outrage. Varric's mask of control slipped. "Barbarism. This is an act of war." Myra's reply was ice cold. "You declared war the moment you stole our children, forced our kin to labor in darkness. You called it tribute. We call it abduction. Today, we settle accounts." A counselor slammed a tentacled fist on the table. "You dare threaten the council on our own soil?" Osei stepped forward, voice sharp. "We dare survive. And now the galaxy will know your methods." Mira tapped a control on her wrist. Instantly, feeds across the station, diplomatic channels, news streams, encrypted networks, flared to life, broadcasting images of the rescued captives, the broken prisons, the confessions of council guards. On hundreds of worlds, the truth unfolded in real time. In the chamber, chaos threatened. Counselors erupted in argument, some demanding humanity's destruction, others struck silent by the horror revealed on their own screens. Varric's voice cut through the din, desperate for control. "You expose us before the galaxy? You risk annihilation for pride?" Myra's answer rang like a bell. "We risked everything because you left us nothing. There will be no more tributes. No more disappearances. We've shown the universe what stands behind your loss." Roman placed a data pad on the table. "Here is a list of every human taken in the last decade. We want them returned, alive. And an end to all forced labor, on every world." A counselor sneered. "You presume to dictate terms?" Myra's composure never wavered. "Not terms, warnings. We've reached other worlds. They know what you've done. The next time a council ship takes anyone, you'll find their heads delivered the same way." Osei's voice, now steady, echoed the threat. "Others have already signaled their resistance. You are not as feared as you think." The weight of the moment was inescapable. Screens around the chamber showed alien citizens, on distant worlds, witnessing the council's shame. Protests erupted in real time, old allies suddenly silent or furious. Varric drew himself up, searching for authority. "Earth will not be spared retribution. The council's arm is long." Mira cut him off. "Your reach is only as long as our patience. Touch another human, and we answer in kind. The galaxy has changed, Chancellor." A heavy silence settled, broken only by the distant howl of alarms as unrest spread through the station. Council security scrambled, but the message could not be contained. The truth had become wildfire. At last, Varric slumped in his throne, face like carved stone. "This is not over, Captain Reyes. Mira regarded him evenly. No. It's only just begun. Outside, the survivors boarded shuttles bound for home, faces lifting to starlight for the first time in years. In the main docking bay, Osei approached Mira. We're clear. No one tried to stop us. Mira exhaled slowly. The council won't move now, not with the galaxy watching. Roman joined them, voice low. Words spreading. Uprisings on 3 council worlds. The House of Cards is shaking. Mira allowed a rare smile. We just gave the universe permission to stand up. High above, in the council's private sanctum, Verrick conferred with his most trusted aides. Paranoia and panic mingled in the air. They have humiliated us before every system, one advisor spat. The order will not hold. Verrick's gaze was poisonous. Prepare the fleets. But do not act yet. Let the universe see our patience. We will regain control, but not today. Not while all eyes are on us. On board Aegis Prime, Mira stood in the command center, watching the stars. The comm crackled, reports of uprisings, demands for justice, even council guards abandoning posts. Roman's reflection hovered in the glass. Did you ever imagine it would work? Myra's voice was soft but resolute. No one else ever imagined we'd come this far. That's always been humanity's strength, doing what no one expects. The crew gathered behind her, silent, united. For the first time since the council's shadow fell across Earth, hope outshone fear. Mira let her hand rest on the rail, eyes fixed on the distant lights of liberated worlds. We came for our own. But maybe we came for everyone. The Aegis Prime turned slowly, breaking from the council's orbit, carrying freedom and warning into the waiting dark. Turmoil gripped the council. News of the prisoners' liberation and the public exposure of council atrocities raced from system to system, sparking protests and riots on worlds that had once knelt quietly under alien rule. Mirarea's face, calm, unyielding, became a symbol for millions. For every species with memories of chains, her warning echoed, Earth would not kneel, and neither should they. Within the council's fortress, Verrick paced, the chamber's shadows stretched by the restless flicker of emergency lights. Advisors whispered, reports stacking like accusations. Trade partners hesitated. Vassal worlds threatened to withhold their own tributes. He stopped at the massive window, gaze burning at the distant silhouette of Aegis Prime breaking away from station. Fools, he spat. They will pay for this humiliation. A junior aide hovered near. Sir, the fleets are assembled. Shall we strike? Verrick's jaw tightened. Not yet. A direct attack now will turn martyrs into legends. We need the galaxy to doubt them, not revere them. His mind churned. Isolate Earth. Discredit them. And when the outrage fades, crush them without mercy. Aboard Aegis Prime, the mood was sober but resolute. Medical bays overflowed with rescued captives, the bridge hummed with constant updates from rebel outposts across the stars. Mira watched the holotable as new signals flashed, civil unrest in the council's heartlands, quiet calls for alliance from species once thought loyal to the old order. Roman entered, setting a data chip beside her. Transmission from the Arithani. They want to negotiate. They're not alone. Osei joined them, barely concealing a grin. 4 more worlds have declared amnesty for former council prisoners. It's spreading, Captain. Mira kept her expression measured, but hope stirred beneath the fatigue. We don't start the next war. But we don't run from it, either. A message alert pulsed. Mira tapped the console. Verrick's face filled the screen, mask of civility barely covering contempt. I see Earth still celebrates rebellion, he sneered. She met his stare. We celebrate freedom. Don't mistake that for weakness. He leaned forward, voice low. Enjoy your moment, Reyes. Your actions have consequences. Soon, no world will shelter you. Myra's answer was unflinching. We have what your council never will, loyalty earned, not imposed. Come for us, and you'll find out what that means. Verrick severed the connection. The bridge fell silent. Roman spoke softly, "He's desperate. That's when they're most dangerous." Mira nodded. "He's lost the story. Now he'll try to rewrite it, with blood, if he can." Throughout the next days, the Council's power fractured. Old alliances buckled. On distant outposts, Council banners were torn down, replaced with hastily scrawled messages of resistance. Mira watched transmissions with a wary eye. She saw hope, but also chaos. She knew all too well that broken chains could still cut. In strategy briefings, her officers debated. "If Verrick does attack, we won't survive open battle," Roman said. "But if we do nothing, he'll hunt us piecemeal." "We hold our line," Mira replied. "And we broadcast everything. The Council wants darkness, we give them light. Every threat, every atrocity. We let the universe judge." Osei agreed. "We can't outgun them. But we can make it too costly to try." Late that night, Mira walked the silent corridors of her ship, listening to the soft hum of engines and the distant laughter of rescued families. In the infirmary, a medic helped a child climb from a bed, eyes bright despite bruises. Mira knelt, offering a gentle smile. "Are you scared?" she asked quietly. The girl shook her head. "Not anymore. You came for us." Mira's resolve hardened. "No one will take you again." On the fourth day, the Council fleets moved, warships slipping into the Edge of Souls sector, weapons charged. Earth's defense grid bristled to life. Every human vessel prepared for the fight, knowing their odds. On Aegis Prime, alarms echoed through the hull. Roman read off the data streams. 17 enemy ships. They're not broadcasting, no warnings, no communication. They're coming straight for us. Mira issued orders with crisp precision. All ships to defensive formation. Hold fire. Put the broadcast on every channel. Screens throughout the system lit up with the faces of those rescued from Raxith Prime. Their testimony, unfiltered, heartbreaking, reached billions. The whole galaxy watched as Earth refused to hide. Verrick's fleet crossed into firing range. On every bridge, commanders awaited the order. Mira stood at her station, steady and silent, while Earth's signal pulsed across the void. "We are not your slaves. If we fall, the universe will know why." An agonizing moment passed. Then, slowly, one Council cruiser powered down its guns. Another followed. Murmurs rippled across the enemy comms, doubt, then quiet mutiny. Verrick's flagship alone held course, but the rest fell back, unwilling to become executioners before the eyes of a watching galaxy. Osei exhaled, shoulders slumping in relief. "They're retreating." Roman's grin was feral. We stared down the Council, and they blinked. Mira allowed herself a breath. "Today. But we hold the line tomorrow, too." The Council's fleet drifted in confusion, half in retreat, half paralyzed by indecision. For the first time, the Empire's enemies weren't outgunned, they were simply unwilling to be monsters. That evening, Mira stood alone in her quarters, stars wheeling beyond the glass. A quiet chime signaled a private message. It was Daniel, her brother, voice trembling with gratitude. "I saw you, Mira. You saved us. You saved so many. I'm home, because of you." She closed her eyes, relief mingling with exhaustion. "Welcome home, Danny." In the years that followed, the Council would never fully recover. Verrick, his authority shattered, faded into obscurity. Worlds once ruled by fear found their own voices. Earth, scarred but undefeated, became a rallying cry, defiance, not for power, but for dignity and justice. A legend grew around the raid on Raxith Prime and the day the Council blinked. And at the center, Mira Reyes, human, relentless, stood as proof that even the smallest voice could shake an empire to its knees.